Join us in the QED kitchen for soups and stews. Oh, we're back in the kitchen, and this time I am with Carla Andrea Leininger, right? Did I get it? Leininger. Oh, I'm terrible with names, but Carla, it's wonderful to have you in the kitchen here.
Thank you very much.
And I actually met Carla at an event, and we started talking about cooking, and you're Brazilian.
Yes,
so
right, I am.
I had a memory of Feijoada, which is a sort of the national dish of Brazil, isn't it?
That's right, and it's a very good pronunciation.
Oh, see, I got something. I can't get people's names right, but it's food I can name.
Feijoada, right on.
Portuguese is your language.
That's right, not Spanish. Unlike a lot of people think, because Brazil is in South America, that we speak Spanish.
Right?
It's Portuguese.
No. And you know, I love black beans, and that's at the base of this dish. And I just wanted to show people, you know, this is, I'm sure that this is the way that you cook and your mom cooked and everybody. You just start with black beans. These are beautiful turtle black beans.
That's right.
And
you can also make the recipe with other kind of beans, like pinto beans. My family is originally from Rio, so black beans are very famous in Rio. This dish actually came from African slaves in Brazil. They kind of put together the beans with a lot of meat leftovers from their masters, and then we got feijoada.
Yeah. Well, what I did was, in order to prepare for this, all I did was to soak these beans overnight, and then I just put it in about 6 or 8 cups of water and boiled them till they were tender. And so now we have the sort of the finished beans that are the beginning of this dish. So I'm going to put these back here, and so let's start building flavor in this pan for these beans.
Now, Chris, one thing that I like to mention, because I think a lot of people don't do this, and it's kind of like a secret, really wash your beans. I wash them once I soak them overnight. I really wash them like 3 times to make sure that I get all that ink out of there. And then they're ready to be cooked.
Yeah, when I drained them, there was a lot of dark water.
Yeah, I like to get rid of that. And so a lot of people say, you know, your beans are so good, what's so special? And I think that's one of the things. I really wash them well.
Yeah. All right, I got a pan going here. You had said that there's a special spice that you use when you're making your beans, and if you don't have that...
Yeah, that's right. I get this when I shop in different cities or when I go to Brazil, and it's called Brasileirinho feijão, and you can't find it in Pittsburgh. You might be able to find it on the internet, though. And or you can contact me and I can hook you up. That's the so it's kind of like a mix. It's a bouillon
cube kind of thing.
I know here you can find bacon flavored, for example, so you can use that as well. This is already mixed, so I like to use this in the last hour, like when the beans are almost cooked. Then I throw 1 or 2 of those in there, depending how much meat I'm adding. If I'm adding a lot of meat, then I just put 1. If it's more bland, if I want it, you know, less smoked flavor, then I just put 1.
So we have some meats that we're going to add to the bacon. I'm just going to stir that a little bit. Typically, feijoada has 3 or 4 different kinds of meats. Most of them smoked, right?
Yes, most of them smoked. Dry beef is also a big ingredient, but it's hard to find here in Pittsburgh. And basically, it's meat that has been dried in the sun, and they put a lot of salt. So you have to soak that as well to get rid of the salt, and it's a big ingredient. So it really depends on how much meat you want and how much of that smoked flavor. In this particular recipe, I'm including sausage and bacon. You can make it vegetarian as well. So if you don't want to put any meat, once your beans are cooked, we're going to put some onions and some garlic as well.
Okay.
We're also adding some side dishes to the recipe.
Boy, it starts to smell good in here when you got some bacon and onions going.
Yeah, onions and garlic are big ingredients in Brazilian kitchens. We're not, unlike a lot of people think, Brazil is not a very hot, spicy. You know, people think of Mexico, south of the border, that everybody likes spicy food. That's not true in Brazil. So we use a lot of these tasty ingredients like onions and garlic, not necessarily anything hot. Unless, of course, you're from the Northeast. There's a state of Bahia,
and they're a little
which
spicier.
is very African Brazilian, and they do have their own peppers that they like to use. With this dish, feijoada, there's also a pepper that people like to use. It's called pimenta malagueta. And also, Brazil is very musical. So I mentioned to you there's a CD by Universal Music called Feijoada. It's Pure Brazil Collection Feijoada. And in the CD, you can actually find the recipe for feijoada. So there's always some music going on when you're cooking. Another one of my favorites is Kenya. She's a local singer, and she has a new CD out. So you always want to be listening to music when you're making Brazilian food to really be in the culture.
See, if I dance and cook at the same time, I know I'm going to cut myself here. But music is great to have while you're cooking.
Yeah, exactly. It's an inspiration.
So then we have some, you had on your recipe some smoked meats, and I have sort of substituted some smoked pork chops. Because
that works as well. Sometimes if you can find smoked pork ribs, I know I used to have better luck finding it in Pittsburgh, but I think if you go to your meat market and ask, they can probably order it for you. I find a lot of smoked pork neck bones, but if you can find the rib has more meat.
More meat on it.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
we're gonna presume that we've cooked this down now and that we've created all that flavor in the bottom. And now we have to add the beans, right?
That's right. So the beans have been cooked very well, washed, and they've been cooked. We've included this seasoning in there. So now we're mixing the beans with everything else. So now it's creating that stew characteristic.
Right.
And if you want more meat, or if you prefer, you can also put the meat on a separate dish.
Okay. So
I brought some dishes here.
So let's do this, and let's. You brought those beautiful plates. Bring them over here.
Okay.
I'm just going to wipe this off. You brought a beautiful cloth. Let's put that out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, this is a little cloth that I brought in, a dish, you know, Brazilian handcrafted work. Still very typical. There's a lot of handmade work that's still being done in Brazil.
Okay.
And
So
we can put something here. We can put the beans here. One of the things, the key ingredients when you're serving black beans in Brazil is what I told you, the cassava flour, which is also called manioc flour. Or in Spanish, a lot of people use yuca, which is a root. This is actually on display at Phipps Conservatory in the Rainforest exhibit, how to make a cassava flour. So you top it off with the flour, and we can also make what's called couve. This is collard greens. I know it's very typical in the south of the United States, but with the same ingredients that we had going there, you can put onions and garlic in oil. Make sure that it's really heated. Saute. And then these are very shredded, as you can see, Chris, here. It's almost like coleslaw, kind of cabbage. And then we saute that in onions and garlic.
Right. And
we serve the black beans, the rice, the collard greens.
Let's do that. We have a little rice over there, my kitchen helpers. All right. So I'm going to just serve some of this right up.
Sometimes it's not seen as a very pretty dish because it has that dark color.
We'll put some of that
but
in
it's
there.
very tasty, especially with all the different meats.
Just put a little bit of rice right on the side.
Let me just stir this a little bit.
Oh, yeah, we're going to... And now, would you put that right on top?
The collard greens?
Yes.
No, that goes as a side dish.
Okay.
And for digestion, because it is such a heavy plate, we serve with oranges. So you can slice some oranges.
I have an orange.
And serve it on the side as well. And
But again,
don't forget your farinha, your cassava flour.
This is just to put on the side. This
Just
is not
to put on the
right.
side.
You don't put it in the dish.
Right, but a lot of people serve it. So on your plate, you will have the rice, the beans, the flour, the orange, the collard greens, and the meats. You know, we can put the meats on a different dish. That way, you know,
can choose
your
what you
guests
like.
can
Yeah.
choose exactly.
Well, let me get a fork here and have a taste. Ooh, boy. This looks fabulous, Carla.
Is it good? And then you got the music going.
Yeah, a little music, a little samba. Carla, this is delicious, and you don't have to be Brazilian to really appreciate this. The meat is so nice and tender. The beans are soft
And it's such a
wonderful.
nutritious and inexpensive dish to make.
Yes.
You know.
Well, thank
And
you
you
for
can make a
sharing
lot
that
of
with us,
people.
Carla.
Thank you
it's
for
great to
having
have
me.
you. We
Muito
hope you'll.
obrigada.
How do you say that again?
Muito obrigada. Thank you very much. And then you would say de nada.
Ginada, and Ginada to you. Here's how you can get this recipe and over 100 more terrific soups and stew recipes.